Our first discussion this evening, we talk about the fact that more than 1.3 million people in the Sudan's South, Jonglei and Greater Pibor regions are struggling with severe food insecurity. It's made worse, of course, by the conflict, climate shocks and economic challenges. South Korean peacekeepers with the UN mission in South Sudan are working with local communities to help improve food production, introduce new farming techniques, and train young people in skills that can help build peace and economic opportunities. Joining us now from Bor is Geetha Pious, head of UNMISS Bor Field Office. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
If you could just tell us what you're seeing, what you're experiencing about the deteriorating food insecurity information, and of course, as we speak about the conflict situation, that there are counties that are still under siege.
South Sudan is actually the newest nation in the world. It has gone for like 50 years of the civil war. So the communities where I work is the Jonglei and Greater Pibor administrative area. It is mainly a pastoralist community. Jonglei was in the heart of the SPLA struggle. So the people were rely on food aid. So they are not interested in the farming techniques. Recent days, the funding crisis, the WFP food aid is less. So more and more famine is starving. But also it is marked with intercommunal fighting due to the cattle trading, and as well as all the natural disasters, the climate change, the flooding. It is affected by a 6 months flooding, so severely affected. So that is where in the food insecurity is affecting Jonglei state. In South Sudan, there is 9 counties under the IPC 5 in the humanitarian assessment, which include the famine situation. And under that 9 counties, 5 counties are in Jonglei state and the Greater Pibor administrative area, which is under the AOR of the UNMISS Bor Field Office.
And just the kind of support that you are able to provide as UNMISS Bor Field Office and your work alongside the South Korean peacekeepers, can you just expand a little bit more on what you're doing, what is happening there?
So the United Nations mission mandate in South Sudan is mainly on the protection of civilians by providing physical protection by the peacekeepers doing the patrols, as well as by various actors on the rule of law, promotion of the rule of law, human rights, and a dialogue for bringing the communities together, and as well as to support the peace agreement and also to provide access to humanitarian assessment. So the Korean contingent is deployed in Bor. It's an engineering horizontal company. So in South Sudan, there is no access. Roads are very, very little. We have recently had a 200-kilometer highway. That is the only tarmac road South Sudan have. So every year, the Korean contingent build the road to connecting different parts of the South Sudan in the Jonglei state and Greater Pibor administrative area. But they are also you all know that South Korea is technologically very advanced country. So there are 250 engineering personnel is deployed here. So as part of their civic activities, the Korean contingent was introduced vocational secondary education in Bor in 2015. But then due to flooding in 2019, we had to stop this activities. So the later year in 2023, we commenced vocational training center. So we started to thinking about, because the conflict is one side, the pastoralist. So there is a lot of displacement and there is a lot of flood also. So, but how to support food insecurity also, because in 2023, the WFP started cutting the food aid in most of the places due to the funding crisis. So to support the communities, what we thought that it is to bring the agriculture introducing. But then the challenge is sustainability for the agriculture. So we had a partnership with the John Garang Technical University, that is the only technical university in South Sudan, and to start the rice cultivation here. Because the Jonglei is in the banks of the Nile River and also the Sud wetlands, so the soil and the conditions is suitable for the rice cultivation. So we had an agreement with the Senegalese Rice Institute in Africa, and as well as in the South Korean Rice Institute. Started 6 varieties of the rice tested here, and then now it is launched with one rice cultivation, one rice variety from the Senegalese Rice Institute. We found that it is suitable for the soil here.
And that's rice variety that has been able to be cultivated, and as you said, there has been success. Could that be replicated in other parts of the Sudan that perhaps see a greater shortage of food? We understand that water infrastructure has been destroyed in places, and that has also led to the health outbreak of cholera, which we are seeing cases increase. So what I'm saying is the conditions that are they conducive to the kind of help that you'd like to provide and to spread to other parts of South Sudan?
One of the challenges in South Sudan is changing the culture, the changing the mindset. Rice is not a staple food here, and the communities are not interested in farming. Farming requires patience. So what South Korean introduced is the easiness of the mechanization. The rice, if you need that, it is to cultivate, you need a lot of patience to put that one. So they bought actually the machines. You can actually ease the cultivation as well as in the harvesting. So we are actually teaching the students from how to prepare the land, how to cultivate, how to harvest, and everything is mechanized. So the easiness, like in other countries, like I come from India, so it is very easy. You don't have to teach this people study that one. So that is one of the challenges. So if we wanted to replicate also, you need to bring this easy machineries here. So it is much more costly. But recently we provided the demonstration to the Minister of Agriculture, and he is very much interested that it is to mechanization start into the other parts of the South Sudan also introducing. So South Korea is now currently looking at that it is to how to support the Ministry of Agriculture to scale up what we actually started to the other parts of the country as well. So that is our biggest dream, particularly, is that it is to take that once we started with a very small farm. Now it is expanded as a big farm. So we think that the country will take it up. But we also that also agriculture farming, other farming also be introduced, not only rice.
And that's what I wanted to get into, because I understand another introduction of the agriculture nature you have made is that of chicken farming, and I understand even there could possibly be a challenge, or there's a challenge in the sense that it's not something that is popular or being embraced openly.
Exactly, because the people are mostly, the cattle is the very much here, but the cattle is also not for like a food. Cattle is for even the people doesn't use that much of milk for their protein intake. So they are most for the culture, for the marriage, and it is like an investment. So where that it is into introducing the other crops, because the people are eating sorghum and maize. So we introduced also sorghum, maize, and also people doesn't eat much of the fruits. So introducing the fruit trees, the mango, watermelon, and the Korean melon, it is fast growing here. You cannot imagine the soil, how fertile is the soil it is. So that is why we bought that the poultry farming, but we wanted to make sure that the incubator and the modern technologies to on the farm the poultry, but also wanted to make sure that it is the actually the poultry, the local chicken, so not to bring against it. So the people started eating the local chicken and the eggs also. So the students are making a lot of money from that, and they are actually more interested than agriculture to do the farm, the poultry.
And the vocational training that they're also getting, obviously anybody who is at an advantage of learning a new skill set will welcome it, but in a situation of war, do they get to use their practices, see the value thereof? Because I understand that it's not just farming that they're being taught skills such as plumbing, electrical work, carpentry, etc., etc.
Okay, South Sudan, unfortunately, because the education system is actually more supported by the UNICEF here. So there is a great ground of the primary education and maybe also secondary education there. But there are unfortunately not many vocational training centers here. So if you look at the skilled jobs, even the electrical, plumbing, these are all filled by mostly the foreigners here. It is very sad in that sense. So once in 2015, the Korean contingent here started the vocational training center, and it started producing good workers here, like an electrical. A lot of people now in the Bor work on the electrical plumbing are actually graduated from here. But in 2024, when we reintroduced the vocational training center, because it was closed due to the flooding and also due to the COVID. But when we introduced with the agriculture university, this University of Jonglei, but also wanted to focus on more supporting to the agriculture industry. So like we started with the plumbing is there, but the electrical, so the electrical people can also support the agriculture machineries and other things, and also the poultry and agriculture. And next year, actually, we are thinking mostly to introduce the carpentry. And a lot of requests, you can imagine that it is coming from the people that teach us to how to repair mobile phones. So I think that one thing that we are interested to more on the technological side to impart more technological knowledge to South Sudanese here, because they don't have, yeah.
So just talk to us about how you're able to navigate the challenges that the communities that you're helping are facing and the resources that are of immediate urgent need.
That is the biggest challenge, because it's a community is not that, like, the sharing things are not very common here. So the main challenge, as I said, that it is the changing the mindset of the people is the to agriculture, the farming, produce your own food. The patience is creating it's one, and creating the market is also difficult. This is the rice be produced by the South Sudan, the Korean contingent. But to labeling it and it is to market like that, it would be difficult for the students. So it need a lot of support is required. Currently, the Korean contingent is producing the report, but it has to take by the government. It has to be taken by the some maybe private investors has to come and support it. Like the students in the university, they don't have any even vehicles to take it to the market. They don't have the capacity to connect with the marketing people. So that's one of the challenges. But vocational secondary education, I'm pretty sure that they still get a job because the job market is there. So, but the right skilled people are not here. But that's one thing that we are very sure that it is able to get more employment opportunities.
And Geetha, just going forward, what are your hopes for the region? And what are the warnings that you'd also like to sound about if certain situations are not addressed? This hard work that you're putting into it could be in danger, could, whatever that you need is not delivered, could threaten the hard work that you've already put in.
Of course, that's one of the challenges. We are not South Sudan. The peace is not still stable. So at any time, we on the side by side, we are working also on to create more on the promoting the rule of law and coexistence, and also to address the political instability. But otherwise, intercommunal fighting started. It can be a town can be burned down immediately. So all the investments, the people can be get displaced and can be lost as well. But one thing is that the skill set, if you get that's knowledge, nobody can take it. So wherever, even if that it is, you can build on that knowledge you provide. But that is not what we are looking for. We are looking for the stability. The people can raise that. UNMISS, we believe peace is not in the absence of the conflict. It is the presence of the hope and opportunity. So we believe that it is, because of this vocational training and agriculture and youth empowerment, we will provide the hope for Jonglei and Greater Pibor administrative area. These are maybe small steps, but together with the community, we believe that we can produce coexistence and food security and dignity. So as Wangari Maathai said that it is, to be a hummingbird, what we can do is we do, but at some time is the communities to understand, the politicians to understand that the stability, the peace and security is very much important.
Geetha Pious, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. She is head of the UN mission in South Sudan's Bor Field Office, speaking to us about how they, along with South Korean peacekeepers, are working with communities in Jonglei and Greater Pibor districts, counties, to tackle food insecurity, teach them new skills in order to also create jobs and foster peace. That brings the time to 29 minutes past 9.